Hi everyone. In this screencast, I wanted to talk about layer properties. Now, I have a simple little interaction here where I click on each of these little icons and I'm showing some text related to that icon. And the text that's being displayed is held on a layer. So layers are something that most designers will probably use in their projects. And by tapping in and using the layer properties, we can actually have some options for how the layers behave when we're using them on a slide. So I'll close the preview down and we'll take a look. Now, you might be familiar that slide properties, when you're on the base layer on the slide itself, there's a slide properties icon where you can set up how the slide behaves. But layers also have a little properties icon that you can click on and set up how the individual layers will behave when you use them on a slide. Now, the default setting for layers is that it will, and you can see by the tick box here, that it will hide other slide layers. So that's why when you click on an icon like I was, or a button, that by default you only see one layer showing at a time, because this setting makes it that the other layers will automatically be hidden. But if I wanted to, if I untick the box here, I can make multiple layers show at the same time. Now if I do that and I say OK, I actually have to remember to go to each of my layers, because these layer properties are only for the individual layer that you're on. And now when I preview out my project, I can click on each of those icons and I can show multiple layers at the same time, which might be something you might need to do in a particular project. Looking at some of the other layer properties options you've got there is that you can hide objects on the base layer. So when you select this option, it will actually hide everything on the base if you needed that to happen in your project, and only show the content that's on the layer. Another one that's a handy one to use is that you can actually have the layer automatically hide when the timeline of the layer finishes by ticking this box. Now that actually saves you from having to create a hide layer trigger in the trigger panel. The layer will just hide as soon as the timeline finishes. Again, if you only wanted it to be displayed for the length of the timeline. Another option you have is that you can actually prevent the user from clicking on the base layer. So if this option was selected, whilst ever this layer is showing, the other objects that normally are clickable, that you can click through the layer, won't be able to be clicked. So it means the user has to stay with what's happening on the layer and then go back to the base layer. It's not until that layer hides that they're able to interact with the other objects. And another option that might also be handy is that you can pause the timeline of the base layer whilst this layer is showing. So for instance, if there was some audio playing on the base and the user clicked on an icon and showed a layer, if that option to pause the timeline was selected, when they close the layer down, the audio will just pick up where it left off. So it can be handy to stop people from missing out on some important information. Well, that's it. Little look at slide layer properties in Articulate Storyline. Check them out. There's some good options in there that can save you having to create your own triggers, and it's easy just to tick a box. The only thing you need to remember is you need to apply the same settings on all of your layers. See you next time.